Royal historian Hugo Vickers, who was very close to Queen Elizabeth, has just released a new book, and it contains shocking bombshell claims about what the Queen really felt about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle during her final years as monarch. It was so bad that Hugo Vickers said that he will never forgive Harry and Meghan for what they did to Queen Elizabeth. Here are 13 things Queen Elizabeth II said about Harry and Meghan during her final years. When Harry and Meghan left royal life, it reportedly hurt the Queen deeply. According to Hugo Vickers, whenever Prince Harry called the Queen afterward, she preferred not to speak with him alone. She made sure a lady-in-waiting stayed in the room during the conversation. This was not because she refused to speak to Harry. Instead, it was a protective step. The Queen lost trust in Harry, and she was worried about how Harry might use their private conversations in the media. The Queen wanted a record of what was said during conversations, especially after the Netflix interviews and public revelations.
I do happen to know that the Queen always used to make sure that she had somebody with her whenever she saw those two, for the reasons that we've been talking about, that they might be taking photographs or, I don't know, recording or anything they might be doing, and she was, very upset by the whole thing. And that's what I really find unforgivable.
She reportedly became cautious and no longer fully trusted private discussions, fearing that conversations could appear in the tabloids the next day. It showed how much the relationship had changed after the royal exit. Many people saw Harry's departure as a normal royal transition, but for the Queen, it felt personal. She reportedly felt emotionally deserted by a grandson she loved dearly. When the Oprah interview aired, it shocked the world and reportedly surprised the Queen as well. According to Vickers, she was taken aback by some of Harry and Meghan's claims about the royal family. Her famous response, "Some recollections may vary," was seen as a polite royal way of disagreeing without escalating the conflict. The Queen still loved Harry and did not want to publicly damage his image. As monarch, she believed in responding with dignity rather than confrontation, even when personally hurt.
The Queen has spoken. Just days after Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey aired, Buckingham Palace released a statement on Tuesday in response. Quote, "The whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately," Buckingham Palace said on behalf of Queen Elizabeth.
According to Vickers, Queen Elizabeth believed Prince Harry could have done more before leaving the royal family. She believed that Harry had found his purpose within the monarchy. She saw him as part of the future of British royalty because of how naturally he connected with the public.
Well, I wonder, it's so difficult to work out what's really going on in his head, but as far as I can see, he wasn't that unhappy until his wife came along and told him he was unhappy. That's my reading of it, but that may be unfair.
His work with veterans impressed her greatly. The creation of the Invictus Games, a sporting event for wounded servicemen and women, made her extremely proud. She even appeared in promotional material supporting the initiative.
Prince Harry, remember when you told us to bring it at the Invictus Games?
Careful what you wish for.
Boom. Oh, really? Please.
Boom.
When Harry stepped away from royal duties, the Queen reportedly expressed confusion, allegedly asking why he would leave when he was doing so well as a royal. He abandoned his royal duties to be a carer for Archie.
Well, I do remember what the Queen said at one point was, I'm not sure she's used these exact words, but basically, sort of one minute he's Captain General of the Royal Marines and the next minute he's just a childminder. I think she felt that, that he deserted the ship. He could have done much more. He also was doing a very good job before he left.
Vickers claims that when Harry first discussed marrying Meghan Markle, the Queen advised him to slow down and wait at least one more year before making the decision official. She reportedly wanted more time to get to know Meghan better. However, Harry followed his feelings and proceeded with the marriage sooner than she preferred. According to the book, This made the Queen uncertain, not necessarily opposed, but cautious.
And then slowly but surely, like a lot of other people, she saw a different side to her. And very disappointingly, she started to have her doubts about her. And I think it ruined her relationship with Harry, which was a very close one.
When Harry moved ahead with the wedding despite her advice, the Queen's reaction was described as emotionally distant. Vickers claims she simply said, "You get on with it. It has nothing to do with me." Rather than opposing the marriage, she reportedly stepped back emotionally and allowed Harry to make his own decisions, attending the wedding more as a monarch and grandmother than as an active participant. One controversial claim in the book is that the Queen was not pleased with Meghan Markle's wedding dress. According to Vickers, she reportedly felt the dress was too white for a divorcee and believed it did not fully align with royal tradition. The dress's design, particularly the shoulders, was also said to have raised concerns about royal etiquette.
What's the problem, Angela, with white, first of all? Why was white too white?
Well, I think it's sort of vaginal, isn't it? You're very pure and you haven't had lots of affairs or been married before or anything like that. And I think it's for the first marriage that you have as well. And I think she didn't like it that Meghan was dressing up as if she was, very virginal. She didn't like that because she knew it wasn't true. She'd been married.
Despite her feelings, the Queen attended the wedding with dignity, choosing not to create public controversy. According to the book, the Queen intervened personally after hearing complaints that Meghan had spoken rudely to palace staff, including a gardener at Windsor. Vickers claims the Queen drove to address the situation directly and reprimanded Meghan herself. The Queen valued respect toward royal employees and believed how staff were treated reflected royal character. This moment reportedly showed how seriously she took internal conduct within the royal household.
And apparently at this point, suddenly the Queen walked in and said, "Meghan, in this family, we don't speak to people like that." And that was a sign of the tensions. Meghan was an actress. She's probably used to speaking to staff in quite an abrupt way. But in the royal family, servants, they're almost part of the family. In some cases, like Queen's right-hand woman, Angela Kelly, they're almost like a sister or a daughter to Her Majesty. Even Meghan's bridal gown was apparently the cause of some dispute.
For Queen Elizabeth, duty was not optional. It defined her entire life. From the moment she became heir, she viewed royal service as a lifelong sacred obligation rather than a career choice. When Harry and Meghan decided to step away from royal duties, the Queen reportedly struggled to understand the decision. To her, personal challenges were never a reason to abandon responsibility. She had lived through wars, political crises, and personal losses while continuing her duties. Seeing family members voluntarily step away from that responsibility felt foreign to her understanding of monarchy and service.
Queen was very disappointed in Prince Harry when he went away. I mean, she actually said to a friend of hers, now he's simply a childminder, whereas he had a lot of very important responsibilities beforehand. And what the Queen and what Prince William and what the King now are all doing, they're putting things into life, they're serving, which is complete opposite of what Prince Harry's doing.
Many expected anger or confrontation from the Queen after the Sussexes' departure. Instead, Vickers claims her reaction was marked by quiet sadness. She did not respond dramatically or publicly criticize them. Her disappointment remained private. The Queen maintained dignity, composure, and restraint, reflecting her lifelong commitment to stability. Rather than showing regret or frustration publicly, she chose grace and silence, even though she was reportedly deeply hurt behind closed doors.
Grandmother. But the sad thing is that he did make her very unhappy in the last couple of years of her life, and he caused her a lot of trouble, and he probably feels rather guilty about that. I'm sure he has many regrets, and I do feel sorry for him, just on a human level. He obviously got on terribly well with his grandmother. They looked as though they're getting on terribly well together.
Harry and Meghan's departure came during an already difficult period for the monarchy. The royal family was facing scrutiny, generational change, and ongoing controversies, including the scandal involving Prince Andrew.
But chronologically, obviously, it worked. But secondly, they both caused the Queen a lot of anguish in the last years of her life. It's one thing I will never forgive the Sussexes for, is the amount of stress they caused the Queen.
According to the book, the Queen worried that public interviews and disputes risked destabilizing the institution she had spent decades protecting. The media demanded immediate responses, placing enormous pressure on her to react quickly. Issuing official statements during such a tense moment was reportedly stressful for a monarch who preferred careful and measured responses. According to Hugo Vickers' book, the Queen herself had serious doubts about Harry long before the dramatic exit from the royal family. Those close to her say she saw Harry as emotionally fragile, someone easily led, and in her eyes, Meghan was the one doing the leading. Within the royal family, the whispers were growing that Meghan had carefully steered this relationship to advance her own ambitions and that Harry simply couldn't see it. The Queen reportedly summed it up in just 2 words. She called Harry besotted and weak. Coming from a woman known for her composure and carefully chosen words, that is a striking thing to say about your own grandson. And it wasn't just disappointment, it was genuine worry. Worry that Harry had rushed headfirst into a marriage without truly understanding what it would cost him, what it would cost the family, and what it would cost the crown. Despite disappointment and institutional concerns, the Queen's affection for Harry never changed. Vickers emphasizes that she continued to see him first and foremost as her grandson. Her love for Harry reportedly remained strong even while she disagreed with his choices. Emotional bonds were never erased by royal disagreements. This separation was painful precisely because of how much she cared about him.
I just think that pained her deeply. And, don't forget that she loved Harry.
Yeah.
She loved Harry, and, she would speak to Elizabeth and recall, the Queen would speak to her cousin Elizabeth and, recall the conversations that she was having with them while they were first in Canada and then in LA. And of course, she's watching her grandchildren grow up hundreds of miles away from her. And I think that upset her too. And I think on a human level, she missed that, and she missed Harry.
According to Vickers, the Queen remained confident that her legacy would not be defined by one family dispute. After decades of service, she believed history would remember her dedication, stability, and leadership, rather than temporary royal conflicts. Her focus remained on continuity and preserving the monarchy beyond individual controversies.
I have no question saying, one of the greatest reigns in British history. The greatest reign to have lived in under any political or economic circumstances. And nobody could ever, if we lived for 1,000 years, do what she did. Make a promise, 1947, to serve all her life and keep it faithfully for 75 years. And I don't think that legacy can be dented.
There you have it. 13 bombshell claims from Hugo Vickers' book revealing how Queen Elizabeth truly felt about Harry and Meghan's royal exit. How do you feel about the impact of Harry's exit on Queen Elizabeth? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.